Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, with drink in hand, whether it's coffee or it's spiked somehow, it's all you. Thank you for showing up. This is the Cut the Shit, Cue the Genius show, where we are channeling your geniusness within the show. And today's webisode, I have Liz Caruso, Michelle Bruno with me. We are discussing a very important topic, a very important word that everybody's just throwing around. Connie, I knew you would be here. I knew it. I knew it. So, and Adam, welcome. And I hope I get to see you soon. So here's the thing. We are discussing communities. It is the C word of the century, where everybody's like, it's actually gaining more hype than the H word. And I'm not going to say the H word.
Come on.
The community. Are we creating communities? Are we like in them? Are we trying to get away from them? You know, Mateus, very, very good to see you here. I'm not surprised that you are here as well. Bonjour, bonjour, coffee in hand. And Melissa, welcome, welcome. So I guess this is an important topic because we got newbies here. So real quick, in the comments, you know, hand up, thumbs down, thumbs up. Hello, Lucy. Are we for these communities? Are we not? Are we community fatigued? Because I got to tell you, I am done with some of them already. So, and I know we shouldn't have, well, let's cut the shit right here. Are the communities the shit or are they not the shit? Hello, Mark. Bruno, you want to start? Well, and the fun part is how many communities do you, well, define community and how many do you belong to? Because I have a number in mind. I want to see if I'm right. It's like playing the Powerball, which is like $1.2 billion right now. So I have a number in mind of how many communities you are in.
I have no idea how many communities I'm in because I'm not sure what the contours of community are right now. I mean, there are places that I go frequently. I don't contribute, but I definitely lurk. So I wonder, am I part of that community because I'm like signed up? I don't know. There are, of those locations, there are places that I get immense value from, and so I return over and over. So I guess I'm for them, but I don't formally belong to many. In fact, I conducted an experiment. Associations are a good experiment. So when COVID kind of hit, I was a member of certain associations, which, have communities and are communities. And I decided to like not dismember myself, but, whatever, quit, just to see like how long it would take me to like really crave wanting to go back. And I never did.
Interesting.
So that's what I will say. It's almost like once you're in the mafia, you feel like you have to contribute because you've invested in it and things like that. But even if it's not delivering value, you're still in it. It's more like habit. But yep. I guess probably there are very few communities that really I get supreme value from, including the ones that I paid for.
Perfect. Okay, Liz, what's a community to you? Because you run it.
I run one. But I mean, I think community it's interesting. I guess everyone defines it differently. I mean, you could consider TikTok being a community of people that you've met there and you watch their content and you get to know them over the time. I mean, there are people that I follow on TikTok. I don't think I maybe posted one TikTok ever, but I've watched enough of certain people that I feel like I know their families. I know everything about them. And then Twitter, I think, was a community. That's how we all met 10 plus years ago. And so I think there's like social platforms. Then there's like the more intentional ones, like what we try to do with our Texie Talk community and collaborative, and Will Curran's doing with his Eventprof community. And the Spin Network is one that I participate in that I get a lot of value from that. Oh my God, all of a sudden, Shauna Succo, I want to say something else, runs. I mean, there's a lot in our community. And then there's the other layer, I think, of all these like companies that are creating communities for the purpose of selling to their target market. So then there's all of those. So how many am I in? I have no idea. Out of those, I would say a good portion are not by choice. They're because my name has been sold to some other company, or I signed up for one little event that they did and they somehow like put me into their huge community or something like that. But I would say probably under 5 that I actually get value from, that I know. Yesterday I had like
You're
a
active in.
crisis. I like go to these certain groups and say like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, Matthias says for him, community is a network of people with events being organized that I attend, associations, which we pay a yearly fee. I'm a member of one only. Great. And then Connie also mentions that she's 5 that she's active in, which I think is the key word here. Active versus lurker, because Bruno's a lurker and some, Sean is a lurker and others as well. And then 10 that call themselves communities that I'm in a Slack channel, Facebook group. And so the whole idea is the design of the community. It truly is. Maybe what it is we go back and see the communities or the groups that you're part of. Like, I feel like I need to do a cleanse and a detox of some of the communities that I'm in, the ones that I am not active in. And being the lurker is active, meaning you're gaining intel, you're looking at conversations via osmosis. You don't have to comment or like or thumbs up or hug or whatever emoji you want to use for every single, comment that's done. In my opinion, a community or a community or a group, whether it's a channel, Slack, whether it's WhatsApp. By the way, WhatsApp actually just made the play today in the community space. So I don't know if we can get that up, but there's an article that just went out today about WhatsApp playing in the community space. So whether it's a group, whether it's a Slack channel, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's a group text, for example, all of that is basically, you have to look at it from what are the goals. And I think a lot of times these communities, especially Liz, when you said my name was sold somewhere, or like you have these platforms that have these pipe dreams of, oh, okay, we had an event, we're going to dump all 5,000 people in a community and let's see what happens, because then we can monetize it. Then we can like sell sponsorship opportunities and blah, 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 blah. I think the intention of the good communities, and I'll give you an examples of ones that I'm in for the reasons I'll share in a second, is the guidelines and the goals of them for the audience, for the lurkers. So this is where like you have to take a look at each of the profiles and say, are you going to be active? What do you want from it? There has to also be an emotional hook to it. Because Liz, you said there are sometimes I'm in a community and I know everything about their family. And I think that emotional attachment is key. So for example, before the Corona Coaster, I started Supernatural, which is on Oculus. It's a VR type of sport thing. It's actually freaking phenomenal. And in November 2020, they had like 500 people in a Facebook group where we like lifted each other up. We celebrated, wins. We pushed each other when we freaking didn't have any motivation to get, in the headset, shit like that. They are now up to 65,000 people. And the charge there is because people are nice to each other. Those that are not nice to each other or trying to sell you something, they get booted right away. So, that's one. The second is the emotional factor of it. You get to know the stories, you get to sympathize, empathize with people, and you get to change and exchange information. There are events that are happening right now, but I look at some of the other communities that I'm like, okay, I just went on an event with Swap Card and now I'm in the community. I'm just being sold to all the time. I should be the one doing the selling, but I do not want to do that. Like, so this is where transparency of what's this community going to deliver to me, like to, Connie or to Rachel and so forth. There has to be that connection, but there has to be more transparency on what are you going to get out of it. But I think the cleansing part of the communities should be done like a New Year's resolution. That's my take for everybody.
You know what? I want to address Rachel's point there. I mean, I am getting inspiration and ideas and stuff like that. Am I benefiting from it? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But I think that, to your point, both of you guys, I entered willingly. I wasn't sort of recruited or just put in there against my will. I actively seek out these types of interactions. So, yeah. But I wonder, we should talk about like communities that are forming on platforms that companies are creating, either brands, trying to create a community around their brand, or events, creating a community around the event. Do you think that that's working, and would it work, and how do we make it work? Because I think it's a really good idea to like sort of have communities in between events, especially if there's value there. But do you know of any that are working?
I mean, I get the concept, and I think it's a great idea. In the events industry, I think one of the challenges I see is that it's pretty small industry. I mean, there's a lot of us, but it's basically the same people over and over. So the more communities, the more noise there is, the harder it is to know what you've opted into, what you've not opted into.
Yeah.
And strategies are evolving. So like, was it a community when you signed up for that one event? Possibly, and you didn't realize it, and it's very muddy and confusing. But I think in general the concept does work, and there are brands who do it well. I mean, if you look outside of the events industry, there are either brands who are sponsoring their own communities and are really building them in a way that drives interest, or there's a ton of like spin-off brands. I was thinking, when you were talking about Supernatural, Dahlia, I was thinking about Peloton. They have a whole community around them, people who are doing similar, sharing their workouts and doing all this stuff. My husband is part of a spinoff group that was just a woman who's a trainer. She creates her own calendar of what you're supposed to do on every day, because Peloton doesn't really tell you that. So she provided this extra value. She has hundreds of thousands of people who follow her in this Facebook group and are constantly talking to each other and sharing workouts and sharing best practices. So it makes perfect sense. I think the keys for any brand who's going to do that is, first of all, you have to focus on the value. You have to understand, and value, in my opinion, is not just the content. There has to be the people. There has to be community managers who are not just your salespeople and your marketing people, but people from the group that you're trying to target, whatever that is. In our case, planners or supplier, whatever you're trying to target, they should be event industry people. And then the other thing is, you have to design a community in a place where people want to be when, like, you have to make it what they want. They have to be able to contribute when they want. They have to drive it. You can't be the only one posting content. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so Rachel has a question for you.
Great.
But before you answer Rachel's question, hey, Joe, you are more than welcome to do a dad joke right here, right now. So this is your safe community, and that's your litmus test. So please share your dad joke. So Rachel has a question for you, Liz, in regards to Texie Talk. How active is it? I think you just shared some of your best practices right there. But like, what are the top three?
Yeah, so we have our Texie Talk community that's open to everybody, and then we have the collaborative, which is planners only. And that used to be our community in the first place. And that's where I say, like, things are evolving. And for me, just to be completely frank, it's super confusing. I'm like, what are we doing today? Who's in our group? Who's not in our group? Because people have opted in over the years, but we've had to shift what we're doing. So, and where we live, so for example, we've now decided Texie Talk Collaborative, the planner only group, is in Circle, which is its own platform separate from any social network. And there are a list of reasons why I chose to do that. We don't have to get into that now. it's a smaller group because it's hard to get people off of social media into something else. And that was I knew that was going to happen. That's a conscious decision. But I think that that's an example of a community that really works well because we do these monthly calls where everyone gets to, we're just all on video. Like, let's talk about challenges. And it's a safe space. You know, I can't tell you how many times in the Texie Talk community on Facebook, someone has said, I'm looking for a virtual platform who can do X, Y, and Z. And it's platform after platform. We could do it. We could do it. We could do it. And they're like, okay, I just want to know what another planner has actually used in Light. Cause you know, so that space I think is very important. And, you know, but it's super confusing. It's hard to know who's in it, who's listening, who's watching. The analytics aren't really great. You move people from one place to another, you lose them, but that doesn't mean they didn't want to be part of it. So you're constantly trying to like drag your list and make sure they know what's happening. It's complicated. And I think that, you know, any platform that's doing this on their own platform has that big challenge of like, does anyone ever go to name the platform on a regular basis? And if the answer is no, it's like dragging. It's so hard.
It is. And the management of communities, is super hard. And I know that everybody's like, well, you need a community manager. True. You need also someone who knows how to engage. Community manager doesn't mean that you just put out a prompt or, you know, something and you think people are just going to react to it. So there's a certain energy and a certain emotion that you have to evoke for a community to not be a forum, which I think Adam was talking about, or someone said it in the comments. Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I know that. But like, for example, you know, I will be the first to say, I have a hard time managing women in event tech as a community. Like right now, it's in flux between, thank you, Luke, in between Facebook as a group and Slack, because there was supposed to be a transition. And to your point, Liz, some people like the Slack and don't want to be on Facebook. And some people want to, there's 800 people on Facebook group, but they don't want to transition to the Slack group. And I'm like, okay, we'll open them both and let's keep them at that. And then the other part, and Rachel actually also mentioned that the key to success or engagement is, where does the community live? But the other thing is, it's the prompts and being transparent with the goals for those that are in the community, not for the one who put it together. If the goal, let's make money, or let's sell, or let's, you know, that's grueling and people are not wanting it, then that's the wrong goal for the community. You can't call it a community anymore, in my opinion.
So I have a question. I want to jump in because Adam is saying paid and unpaid sets a tone and value gauge. And this is a huge question that I'm seeing in the industry.
Yeah.
We've played with it with Texie Talk a billion times. I find that community is so available everywhere, especially on social media, that most people don't tend to pay for it. And that, yes, when you do, there is a set tone of value. There is a better commitment. There is XYZ. But I'm curious what you ladies think about that, because people do pay for associations. They pay for that membership. And in my opinion, a lot of times you're getting a lot less value paying for an association membership than you are an active community online. But I'm curious what you all think about that. And what are the price points?
So, right. I think that what I've observed is, if it's a free to join community or a very low cost community, people don't have the incentive to continuously contribute and or participate. Once you hike that price up and make it somewhat exclusive, and I have an example of that, people tend to invest more. It's like you buy an iPad, you know, the original iPad, you know, was really expensive. And so you felt like, well, now that I have this iPad, I've got to like put all the apps on it. I've got to do all the things, and I have to like get something out of my investment, right? And it was somewhat of an exclusive group too, because it was expensive and there was a high price point. So I went to an event. I was telling this to Dahlia the other day. Went to an event last year, and I bought a never-ending ticket. So it was an NFT, and I can go to this event forever into perpetuity until I drop dead, or I can sell my never-ending ticket to somebody else. And also with that never-ending ticket, we get funneled into like this exclusive group. And now they've started to have, monthly meetings, and they have a special Discord channel, and they'll have special events, at the thing. And I'm like, even if I lose complete interest in that topic for that conference, I think I'll probably still go to the event every year and participate in this community because I've invested in it, and they also are treating me like a VIP. So I think there's something there. It was expensive to invest and do that. It was risky to do it because at the time it's like, I never have even heard of this concept, never ending ticket. But I also looked at other people that were buying them. I'm like, So I just want to get in the room with those other people. So there was a lot to it, but I think making the investment, what I didn't do, which a lot of people say is essential for joining a community or being in community, is passion. I don't buy into that. Like, I'm not passionate about business things. I'm passionate about other sort of personal things. So the communities that I personally opt into are more of personal interests and things that I really care about as a human being. And maybe that's where we're dropping the ball with business communities, because I can't buy into the, like, I'm so passionate about meetings in the event industry. I guess maybe I'm the only one that's not.
What do you mean you're not passionate? You're not passionate about us. You're not
I'm
passionate
passionate about you guys
about
as humans.
You're not
I'm passionate about what we
all
talk
these
about.
people?
No, and I'm passionate that I care about you and you care about me, but I'm not passionate about the fact that we were all linked together because we have a similar job. So maybe that's something like injecting some level of humanness into a business community, I think is almost essential. So there's two kind of different topics there.
So on that note, first, Adam loves your idea and is going to steal it. So that's one.
Always good.
Second is the whole infusion of, you can start out in a community on a business level, and then you end up with an emotional attachment or personal level. I think that is a goal of any community.
Mm-hmm.
That should be it. This should not just be, in your face, you got to belong so you can download shit, to Joe's, point, or you gotta be in every single webinar that we do, or, all of that. So the idea is the community has to evolve. Our relationships and our relationships with Shapiro and Sean and, Connie and so forth happened where we probably met in a community. What?
And Rachel's
and
everyone on here.
There's
like it's the Oscars, and
yeah, exactly. But the whole idea is, that community evolved. To Liz's point earlier, you could meet someone in a community like on social media, which is where I met Liz. And then that evolves. Then you actually drag the people that you love and respect and want to exchange more of that emotional connection and exchange more of, expertise or brain dates, etc. Where it has to happen in a different community. So here's the other thing, devil's advocate. Bruno, you paid for that NFT and you paid for, exclusivity, if you will.
Yeah.
Does that payment of exclusivity actually makes you more active in the community?
Yes, I think it will. It's not about the payment, because believe me, I've paid for way less valuable shit over the years and then never even used it, It's the idea of exclusivity. And I think maybe we're hitting on something. It looks like, to me, the most popular and successful communities are very small and very exclusive.
Yes.
And the people in them are somehow selected You know, I self-selected myself by ponying up, you know, money, but I think so far it's worth it, you know? So maybe this idea of like having large numbers of people in a community is not where it's at, because you also can't service the individual members of the community very well if it's over like 100 or 150, I think. So I
Although I
would
think
say,
there is a fine balance because
yeah,
there's also I've found communities kind of like a numbers game to some extent because there's so much going on and people only can tune in so much. So if the communities there's a fine balance. There's like I think 0 to 25, 30 people where it's very active, people are super engaged. Once it goes over that, then there's like almost this window where it's got to go from 30 to like 300 so
yeah.
that there's enough people who are, making it a priority to come in so that you're not the only voice in there. And then I agree, the bigger that they get. I mean, look at some of these LinkedIn groups that were started years ago. We have one 6,500 people. There's some with hundreds of thousands of people. It's all spam. There's no way to moderate something like that in a meaningful way. It's just some of it is interesting, most of it's not. And then you have more people who tune out. So there's this very fine balance between like the number of people, who's in it, and then what is being shared and by who. If it's only the people who run it, who are doing all the events and posting all the content, and I'm speaking from experience, it's boring. So then, there's a very fine numbers balance where you're like, it has to have enough people that I'm not the only one talking, but not so much that I can't moderate it, and then that's where I see people having like moderation teams and really expanding.
Well, what if that's sort of the price of membership is participation?
Mhm.
I just shot myself in the foot because
Well, no, Rachel
how I like
also
to,
mentioned, what if it's like time is the currency?
yeah.
So it's participation, it's, engagement. How do you push something out there and then you watch the engagement? So like, for example, I I am also I have a Facebook group for my high school in from Cairo American College, and there is around 5,500 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for a fact, and it's me like, threading this in, where I'm like, this is the place for all of you to share 4 things. You share memories, you
Mm-hmm.
share memories from the past, whether it's songs, words in Arabic, who's your favorite teacher, what you're doing. There's a specific day where it's like, what are you doing, who do you want to connect with, etc. There's one thread for, I want to meet a teacher from the past, so there's one subgroup of that.
Mm-hmm.
And those are my prompts, but I know exactly who's going to take it and then run with it and then just blast the engagement to. And it was funny because someone called me out and said, you really think you're going to have like a ton of comments on this? I have like 1,000 comments on what is your favorite word that you remember. So the whole idea is, and yeah, 5,000 is a lot of people. You do have to do 2 things. You have to know who's in the community, and you have to know who the lurkers are, and feed them the specific content that way. And then you have to know who the cheerleaders are. Like Rachel's a cheerleader, but give them full access and permission to light up the chat or light up the group, if you will. But then you also have to change behavior and guide it. And I think where people are getting community burnout is like, we have a webinar every single day. No, we don't want that. Like, who are you talking to? You're talking to your own, or whoever the organizer is, their business goals, not knowing the audience or who's in the community. I think that's where people get fatigued and say, like Joe would, send in a dad's joke and then I'm out of here kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about TED.
Okay.
TED really is a community, you know. It costs a boatload of money to attend or, get in the room with the other people. And it's super successful over the years. having a small number of people, but having high level quality actually seem to be, part of the formula. And so I guess I'm just weighing in on keep it small, charge a lot, make it exclusive, and really go all in on the caliber of content. And I think that people will come and continue to participate.
I like it.
I like it.
I'm going to start. Yeah, Dahlia, let's start. Well, we always talk about this. Who would be our dream? Dahlia will ask me, who is your dream team? Who do you want to be involved in XYZ project? Who do you want to be in this community, whatever? And I'll just throw out total, no way we're going to get them. And she'll probably get 3 out of 5.
Oh yeah.
It's all of a sudden, oh my God, my dream team person has just agreed to it,
And speaking of TED Talks, yeah, we're gonna have Monique on as a guest soon. So There you go.
Yeah.
But all right, so we need to wrap this up. I think Bruno, you summed it up. I'm not gonna.
Okay, one of the thoughts that I thought though is donut on Slack. I just got a donut thing because donut is a bot is trying to start conversations and keep this community going. And because it's a bot, I don't even want to respond. It's
because it's not a person.
I get the concept, but it's just sort of dumb to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So let's start a really exclusive community. And everybody that was in this chat today, you're in.
Hey, if you want to be in, then it's thumbs up.
$5,000.
Dad's jokes are allowed and actually required. Let's put it that way.
What about mom jokes?
And mom jokes and fur baby jokes, whatever you want. Jokes. I think that's the other thing is the humor is definitely needed. So we agree, all of us, that communities, we're going to do a cleanse, right? We're going to do a collective cleanse of all the groups that you're in, etc., especially LinkedIn groups. I can't, you remember the time when LinkedIn said, you're only allowed 50. I'm like, oh my God, I have to be in 50 right now or else they will take it away from me. I have never been.
When was the last time anyone of you guys ever even went into a LinkedIn group? It's been years.
Oh, I know. I found a LinkedIn group I started years ago.
Yeah.
Don't even know I had it. I went in, looked in last year, and I was like, what is this one? And then I saw it said, you are the owner. And I was like, of what? How did I become? There's 6,500 people who just keep adding themselves to this group. Every day there's more people in there. I'm like, there's nothing. I don't do anything in there. So yeah, that tells you how much I use LinkedIn.
Just membership and numbers don't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
All right. So let's actually cut the shit and see if we can eat our own dog shit. We're gonna start an exclusive
dog
community.
Food. We don't want to eat our own dog shit.
Cheryl is already wanting to write a check. There's revenue here. He could be the number one, I see Powerball win in our future. But so we start one, but we also do the ideas of what is the guidelines for this exchange? Why are you in it? What do you want out of it, etc. And let's see if we can make this happen. Even if it's us 3 in the end, we're good. So anyway, so thank you for joining us. This has been a really cool conversation. And Liz,
thank you, Liz, for the topic.
Yes,
it was topic.
Liz, you have Texie Talk coming up next week.
Next week, you have to be in our community to watch it.
So you have to be in the Texie Talk. You want to pull up the URL, but
I have to put the URL. You have to just go to facebook.com/groups/Texie Talk. It's all free in there. So we're just streaming it directly.
You got to be part of the Texie Talk community and group.
There you go.
For you to attend Texie Talk Global Summit. So be there. We're meeting. Yeah, I am. But thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.